What's good everyone, I'm Zayas, and today I'm here to review The Girl from the Other Side, aka Totsukuni no Shoujo. This series mostly just blew up because the artwork is gorgeous, it's very visually stunning. I'd say one of the best looking parts of the manga, in my opinion, is the use of black and white, and it's quite symbolic as to what the characters are doing, but it's also used in a way that makes the series look incredibly good. The author doesn't shy away from using this contrast at any moment that he possibly can. The insiders are white or light or even the good side, and the outsiders are black or dark or evil. It's a very simple theme, it's nothing complicated or hard to get, but it seeps throughout the entire story, into the characters, into the artwork, the backgrounds, it's everywhere. This series does have a lot of series that you can really see similarities to, the main one being Ancient Magus' Bride, which had a very similar premise about an older mage who looked kind of deformed and monstrous, taking care of a younger girl who was more so on the innocent side. I personally like the series, and I like the things that it takes from the series. In particular, the atmosphere and the whole mood of the environment is done really well, just like Ancient Magus' Bride. Even with the similarities, I think that this series sets itself apart quite a bit because of the artwork. The artwork uses a lot of darkness, and not many manga authors like to use this much black in their manga, and it's quite different from any other manga that you're really going to read. And it's not like an occasional pitch black panel every once in a while, it's literally everywhere. Every time there's an outsider on the panel, the background will be pitch black. Every time there's an insider, it'll be more white, but we spend a lot of time on the outside, so we get to see a lot of the darker side of the series. The Cursed have a very recognizable design, it's very monster-like, and they have different designs even among the Cursed themselves. On top of this, the trees are a nice touch that are always in the background, and you learn later on that the trees have a different meaning to them than you originally thought. It was a nice, cool, small detail that really made you go, huh? And I wish this series did more of that, but it kind of stuck to the basics and kept it simple most of the time. Aside from the Cursed, the rest of the characters look like pretty standard fantasy characters. There's nothing incredible about them, but I wouldn't say they look bad necessarily. What the other characters do well is that they fit the whole vibe of the series very well, and they create a pretty interesting world. The scenery and the backgrounds in the series are very cozy and very well drawn. They're pretty detailed at most times, although sometimes there's less, but it's pretty beautiful all the way throughout, and they create an incredible mood which is like very slow and steady throughout the entire series. The idea behind the series is something that we've seen before several times. It's an adult taking care of a young child as they grow. You can think of things like Beelzebub, Zatch Bell, Lone Wolf and Cub, even like stuff like Yotsuba. But the whole idea of this series isn't necessarily to reinvent the wheel, but it's to use really simple ideas and illustrate it and bring it to life with incredible artwork to create this cool mood, interesting characters, and a little bit of mystery. This series does try to make a point, but the point is rather simple. It's that people are quick to judge by appearances, and oftentimes people see the world in black and white, when a lot of times things aren't necessarily black and white. Again, this is not something that hasn't been done before. It's not really anything mind-blowing or crazy to think about, but the point of this series was just to make a simple story, just to get the point across and just fill it out with beautiful artwork. And in that regard, it does get the job done. But once you get past the whole grand scheme ideas, you get to the characters, which the main cast is somewhat interesting, but aside from the two characters, there really isn't much to the series. A lot of the reason why the two protagonists are interesting is because they're so different from the rest of the cast in the universe. The outsiders and insiders are two groups of people who all generally think very similarly. They all mostly blindly follow their gods and oppose the other faction. But then you get to people like Sensei, who is kind to the insiders despite being an outsider and doesn't obey Mother's will. And then there's characters like Shiva, who, despite being cursed, is for some reason not transforming into a cursed. The relationship between these two is also intriguing. He acts as if he's sort of his father figure, but she also has a grandma and a family who she can't really leave behind, so there's an interesting dynamic going on, and she trusts him much more than most should trust a stranger. Aside from these two, a lot of the characters are more bland in terms of personality. They mainly just follow their deity blindly and do whatever it takes to get their god back in full health. Once the mystery is all sorted out, there's a little bit of a twist that I didn't really see coming, but it's very much in line with a lot of the themes that this series was putting out beforehand. Sensei is actually Shiva. Shiva is Sensei's soul. So what that means is that Sensei is actually the pure one or uncorrupted one, and the priests were the people doing the bad thing. And it just goes to show you appearances can be deceiving and not everything's black and white. The whole theme is everywhere in the series, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad theme, but I think it would have been pretty easy for this series to expand on it a little bit or add to it in a few ways, which made it less boring and simple. But even then, it's not a horrible theme or story, it's just sort of whatever. The part with Shiva was a cool twist, but right afterwards, the series really just ended without much further elaboration. And to me, it felt like the series really needed more during the ending. The series ending felt super open-ended, so that it's up to the reader to really decide what they thought happened during the ending. And personally, I feel like this was sort of a cop-out to really writing an incredible ending for the series. I can't really call this ending bad, but I can't call it good either because there's not much to the end of the series. A more ambitious ending would have made the series a lot better to me, along with just being more ambitious in the entire story in general. There seemed like there was tons of space to play around with making the characters more interesting, making the plot more interesting, adding a little bit of details here and there to it. But it seemed like the author decided to play it very, very safe. But if you push all that off to the side, you'll see that it's a simple story with incredible artwork and a pretty cool atmosphere. And that's what I think the story was going for. It wasn't trying to be much more than it is. But I think this series knew exactly what it was going for, and it achieved what it set out to achieve. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8. Thank you everyone for watching. Like the video if you like the video, dislike it, whatever. Leave a comment about what you've been reading or what you want me to review. And next video will be pretty big, I think. So next couple videos might be some bigger series, so keep an eye out for that. Alright, see you everyone.